poorest countries in the world, but they are also provided at zero interest rates or near zero interest rates. So it means that after every 5 years, the resources must be replenished. That is why we are calling it an AIDA replenishment. But this
after every 3 years.
After every 3 years, they have to be replenished. It used to be 5, but now I think
3 years.
it is becoming 3. Let me put it this way. Why the difference now? If you go out there, starting of the entrance in KICC or in front of the first president's statue, you see AIDA works. That is the words. That is, AIDA resources can make a difference. And that is what we want to actually show, that we can actually make a difference. What difference can we make? Yesterday, ministers of finance from African region congregated here, and they developed a communique. That communique was developed on the basis of what should we make a difference in terms of this AIDA 21 replenishment. The first objective was that if African countries can come up and develop their own priorities, development priorities, then it can show the impact of AIDA replenishment. It can now make a case for the richer countries to push for AIDA replenishment, a higher component of that, because it makes a difference. Let me start from the first one theme that was working through. One of them was the quality and structure of growth. Higher growth is required, but the quality and structure of that growth is very, very important. Why is that? Because it can make a significant impact on poverty. It can make a significant momentum in terms of inequality. And it can make a significant impact in terms of momentum for future growth. So it means that success can beget success, as people say. And that is why the strong growth is very, very important in reducing poverty, significantly. But it also implies that once you have strong growth, you also have fiscal space that you can deal with targeted social transfers to minimize and to eradicate inequality in the long term. We have seen that. But why are we coming and talking about the quality of growth 60 years after independence? It's because most of the benefits that we had acquired for the last 60 years have been actually messed up by climate change. For example, layers and layers of shocks have been quite devastating, starting with COVID. But there's nothing more devastating like the drought we experienced in 2022, a bit of 2023. Why is it important? Because it reversed all the efforts of poverty reduction for the last 20 or so years. But it also increased massively inequality at the household level and regional level. Just see how devastating the drought was. It is the same thing that happens now, the floods, for example. They are affecting poorer areas that are already struggling. Now, then what do we need to do? We have to rethink about the development agenda. There are so many themes that came out from the ministers of finance. But the most important, the growth and structure of growth was one of them. But the second thing is, how do we create market accessibility? And for us, markets are very, very important. First, physical infrastructure is very, very important. Creating roads to access markets is very, very important. Why? In this part of the world, they lower transactions cost. Small firms in our economies suffer because they are transactions heavy. Look at transport system, physical roads, bridges being carried away. All these are the increased transactions cost. Look at electricity. Okay, most people don't look at cost of electricity in terms of the cost, but they look at the stops and the electricity supply stops, isn't it? And the cost of actually having an electricity cut is very, very expensive. Is it cut, or how do you describe it? We usually used to say it is not the cost of electricity that is important. It is the supply of that electricity in a constant